5 p.m. Call this meeting to order. And I'd like to thank Shrewsbury Media Connection for televising today's meeting. Thank you. Next on the agenda, the minutes are not ready for prime time. So we'll review those next month. Any board member comments? No, there being none, let's move right along. And we have the scope of work here that was distributed to everyone. Thank you, Mr. Cahill and your team for preparing this for us. I had some free time to review this as well. So I have some questions more towards the end of the proposal, but if anyone has any questions or comments.
Could we just have Mr. Cahill walk the committee through the creation of the RFP and how they took their approach before kind of a 30,000-foot view before we get into details?
Well, sure, to back up a couple of meetings, we had discussed kind of a way forward to getting an action plan done for this Affordable Housing Trust Committee. It was agreed that, well, first the committee brought forward some sample action plans, if you recall, from different communities in town, in the state that have done it, other towns. I solicited your feedback about which ones you liked best. We settled on, I believe it's Arlington that everyone really liked. So we actually, myself, Ron McAllister, reached out to the Arlington planning team and had some discussions with them on how their RFP went. And we worked with them on just getting their feedback, their advice and comments. Brought that back to this committee, and you said you liked what you heard, and we had mentioned too that in addition to kind of coming up with kind of the larger goals and plans for this committee, that would also be looking at kind of a financial angle to it, which again we got from our colleagues in Arlington, something they were looking for. So not just kind of big picture goals, but also kind of more practical, measurable goals that we can do, and then also the financing behind each of those goals. How can we best utilize the funds, or the Housing Trust can best utilize its funds to have the biggest impact. So that's what we did. We tailor-made this for Shrewsbury based on some of your comments to kind of make it more what we're looking for, and Shrewsbury and our assets and what we have in terms of master plans and housing production plans and so forth. And that's kind of how we arrived at this draft where we have today. And you can see, as you go through it, you can see the outline of the first 4 sections, kind of more of the textual outline. You get the narrative about what each one would be looking for, what we're asking for a consultant to provide. And then you get down below the task list of what would actually happen to achieve those goals, and the deliverables at the end in terms of the report. So it goes through the task list. Like all of you had said you really like the idea of having at least one kind of public forum type thing, whether it's an actual public forum or if it's just a large meeting, joint meeting with boards, and we just invite the public. We left that kind of vague just to give this committee more flexibility and the consultant more flexibility with how they want to run that. We didn't want to lock you in or the consultant into, if they have a really creative idea, maybe we go with that. So that's kind of how we drafted it. Furthermore, we didn't put an exact date. So when you look down at the task list for things like planning and prep, community engagement and so forth, we wanted to leave that to the consultant and their expertise to determine just how long each of those tasks might take. We didn't want to kind of predetermine that for them. We thought much better for them to come forward and say, we, in our experience, would estimate 2 months for this or 1 month for that. And then also work with all of you about timing and so forth. And then somewhat towards the end, after that, when you get to the bottom, consultant qualifications, this is somewhat standard language in most scopes of services that you're going to see. And then just some, again, deadlines and inquiries, all that's kind of procedural information about when they'd be turning in their responses to the request for services, and days that we can work that out. exactly, but we just wanted to get this out first. We can more narrow, that's really narrow scope, so, once we get through all of you, when we present to the selectmen, we'll talk about that later, then we'd get those dates exactly, but when we want people to return their responses to us, so. That's maybe I started at 30,000 feet, went down about 20, 15, but, I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you want to go back and just take it from the top and walk through each section and just see if anyone has a comment about maybe an action plan and scope of work, any comments for that section and so forth. If that's an idea
Yeah.
you want to entertain.
Yeah, we'll go one at a time, see if anyone has any questions on, we'll start with the action plan and start with number one, create and refine goals. I'm just summarizing here, consultant, will use the 2016 master plan and the 2019 HPP plan as well. In my opinion, I think that is a good place for he or she to start. Any comments? No?
I really like this overall.
Great.
Mhm.
I thought it was what we wanted to do, but I just, for clarification, I actually think that number one, addresses, my question. With saying, with respect to each potential goal or priority, the consultant shall provide a preliminary estimate of options to advance it, an assessment of the feasibility. So this is what we were talking about. There's a lot of stuff that we can do according to the parameters of the creation of the trust. This is gonna give us an evaluation of what might be realistic. Is that what that essentially, is that what that's saying?
Yeah, so financially realistic, but more than that, I think. I find, in my planning experience, there's a lot of times you have very broad goals for achieving something. For example, I think I always like to pick on this one goal in the master plan. It says something like, keep Shrewsbury's schools one of the best in the state. And it's like, it's so broad, and it's a great goal, but to actually achieve that. So I think here, if we're gonna say, if, for example, they come up with a goal that says, increase the number of, and I'm just throwing something out there, maybe affordable inventory that's at 60% of every median income and not 80%, so that's like a very general goal. Well, how do we do that? So the reason we put that in there is say, we wanna actually, what is the strategy for getting there? Like
Right.
Give us 2 or 3 things. Is it purchase apartments and slap a deed restriction on them? Is it work with someone who's already developing a property and work with them to make some of those 60% AMI? So that's what they're looking for there. So when you say realistic, that I think is also, that's the feasibility portion of it for
Right.
sure, financial feasibility.
Well, I guess that's what I mean. Is it feasible?
Right, but I'm not sure, so again, I don't wanna get too much into the weeds because we'd work on this with the consultant, as they might tell us how much that would cost, or what they would estimate, and then we can decide.
Right.
Within
okay.
our bounds.
It'll give us that kind of information,
Yeah.
I guess is the point. Yeah,
That was a
good.
long-winded answer saying yes.
No, okay.
But that's the context of why we put that in there.
No, good. That's,
Yeah.
I was hoping that we would have something like
Yeah.
that, and I thought that's what it said, basically. I think we're saying the same thing, just a different
Okay,
way.
yeah.
I think that's good. I think that's really important for us.
Yeah, and I think, the bullet point number 3 also discusses the, looking into the budgeting as well, funding sources
Yeah.
and opportunities there, but we'll get there in a second. Section number 2 just talks about, the meetings, public engagement, session, meeting with the board or any committees, or also the public comment section, which is what we all discussed and was important for every one of us to make sure that we had that. I think that that's definitely covers that section. The development and operating, so this one here, the funding framework. discusses the strategic approach in evaluating the, again, the funding sources, and they'll hopefully provide some recommendations as to any additional resources that might be out there that we're not aware of, and, you know, assist us in establishing a 5-year budget.
So, can I ask a question? I'm not sure whether this is. Any of these things, will any of these speak to, I guess, and I don't know what the right word is, but the potential of partnering with certain nonprofits as a way to accomplish some of the goals?
Yeah, I think that falls under the financial part of it,
Okay, great.
yeah. That's part of the kind of return on investment.
Yeah, okay.
Right, that's gonna be that discussion in the future,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, you know, hopefully, you know, with their experience, you know, they can probably have some, you know, some good ideas as to, you know, what's happening there.
Right.
Can I just ask a question
Sure,
on that
of course.
too? And it might be too far ahead. Would we be partnering with multiple nonprofits, or would it be with one nonprofit?
It wouldn't have to be one nonprofit. It could be multiple. It would depend on our resources that we have at the time.
Right, like for example, it could be Habitat for Humanity and the Shrewsbury Housing Authority
Yeah, at the same time,
and a nonprofit developer that we don't know about, so there's lots of
Right.
opportunities, we don't wanna shoehorn ourselves in.
Okay,
It could depend on the type of project.
Exactly,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yep.
thank you.
And then the last one would be, you know, prepare the draft action plan, which then will give us an opportunity to review and, you know, edit and come back with some recommendations there. So I think it covers what we were looking for. I think we're heading in the right direction there. And the related documents that we will provide will also help the consultant in preparing, you know, the plan for us as well.
I would add to that related documents on the community preservation plan, now that that's live.
Events are overtaking us.
Yes.
Community, yeah.
And on the deliverables, you know, it calls for 6 copies, you know, I think more and more, you know, people are comfortable with, you know, electronic versions as well, so I think that's not an issue.
Yep.
The budget, so I know we discussed this at our last meeting, and I was looking all over the place, and of course I didn't write it down. And it's like, I didn't know where we ended on that as to the not to exceed.
I thought we were sitting around the mid-level, which would be $20,000.
Well, we had a couple ideas. One was to set an upper amount, and then the other idea was to leave it open and see what consultants came back with, and then see if it met what this committee deems we could afford or wanted to spend, I guess. I think we could afford quite a bit based on what we have in reserves at the moment, but we kind of left that in there just because it was a point of discussion. However, you can see we obviously just put little X's and a highlight.
Mhm.
So planning department's happy to defer to the comfort of this committee and the strategy you want to approach it with. That's, I think, perfect role for this committee to discuss and determine, and we'll follow your lead.
Next, I mean, I thought we landed at a number, but I could be mistaken, and I don't have anything in writing.
I thought the discussion was around that mid-level, and I don't know why 20,000 was
I
kind of
was-
sitting, maybe I have my notes from the.
That's
I
about
don't
where
recall
we-
where we ended up. I prefer to say, this is what we want, tell us what it's gonna cost.
Yeah, that was the other side. That was the other part of the discussion. So before you
And
tell me,
actually,
I'm happy to adjust it in front of.
I think I had said it the last time, and I think you might have said, well, at town meeting, we're appropriating money, so they know what we're gonna do we're gonna have anyway, so it's 601.5 plus. the
Right, I
other,
think, you
guess.
know, we have the flexibility if we have the funds that don't need to be appropriated at town meeting, but do we wanna give the consultants like a not to exceed amount? You know, I think we were throwing around max 30,000 at the last meeting, is what I recall. We'd have to defer to the minutes.
Well, that's what I kind of thought, cause I thought, that's, I thought 20,000 was low, I thought it was closer to somewhere around 30, because we were
Oh,
talking,
here it is.
weren't we talking like two parts? And we said if we wanted,
Yeah, and I think we now want the two parts because the Arlington
That was
financial
a couple
model.
of years ago, so I think we bumped that up a little more, we were discussing that.
yeah, we were talking in two parts, like if we want this, we wanted,
Correct.
right?
Yeah,
Is
because
that what that says?
there were 3 tiers there, and, you know, the low end was 16,000, at the high end was 25. But this was from a couple of years ago as
Yeah,
well.
but we wanted like the base model, and then we wanted the add-on, and I think that was the financial part, right?
Right, yes.
So I think it was closer to 30.
Yeah, I believe that is right. I was just looking for my own notes.
When we were talking about, we wanted both.
And the thing with the RFP is that we can negotiate with the consultant once we get their proposal. We can say, we want this, we don't want this, because this is design services, so it falls under that realm, under procurement.
Yeah, well, if we can do that, then I would be for, you know, not putting an amount there and just striking that and just see what we get based on the RFQ.
Sure. So has budget, we're gonna do a maximum still, is that the thinking still? A maximum of 30 or 35,
Yeah.
or nothing at all?
What did you just?
I was just gonna strike it entirely.
Okay.
We might get the question from, like, we're gonna have an open question period where people can ask, and we can, you know, be clear with everyone that we're
Correct.
we're thinking in the range of under 30,000, if that's what the committee's consensus tonight is.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
And so, after that, we have the task list, which is, you know, will include the kickoff meeting. And we have community engagement there as well, which is again, just covering what was in section 2. And then the financial reviews. Let me give you a chance to catch up, sorry.
Read through it twice, so.
Then they will ask for consultants' qualifications, how they plan to, you know, approach and work on this project, proposal. From project management expertise, which was good. I didn't even think about this here, was just asking for some sample work, written work as well, which would be helpful
Yep.
for us to see what they have produced in the past.
The one thing that I might suggest that we add in is kind of what our rubric will be, so what's highly advantageous, what's not advantageous, and what is unacceptable. We've seen that in other RFPs. Just wanted the group to think about it, because when we're reviewing the RFPs, we want kind of a metric that we'll all agree upon, kind of rank the proposals in order to understand which firms that we want to have for an interview or, you know, get further information. So just wanted to take the temperature of the other board members of what your thoughts are on that.
We did that for Beal, right?
We did that for Beal, we did that for the strategic plan. We're doing that for the transportation multimodal.
Who would put that together though?
We did.
No, I
Oh,
mean,
sorry.
the staff would do it.
Staff, yes, yep.
I think it's a good idea.
How did it work at Beal?
Well, we don't
We had one proposal.
But still, it did work because we could say, well, where did they fall in the spectrum?
Right, they didn't meet, they did not meet any of the qualifications.
Right.
Yeah, no, then, yes, that would be definitely a helpful tool.
All right, somebody we can put together and email out to you when it's done.
I like that this is concise. I don't know if they're always this concise, but I like it's concise and I think it addresses everything.
Not, you know, when I printed this, I didn't even look through it, I just hit print and I was expecting more. But-
Save your paper.
Yes, definitely. So this is very helpful, and again, thank you again
Yeah.
for you and your team to preparing this. I know that, well, do we have anything else on, any other questions or comments on the plan itself, or the RFQ?
It was very well done.
I know, the next, topic of discussion was the timing and presentation. And
When are we ready?
well, that's the question, you know, when do we think
When are
we
we
want?
ready?
We want the RFQ to go out?
Oh, right, but when are we ready to go to the board?
I mean, I think that, you know, you and I talked the other day about perhaps going the end of this month, because I think based upon our conversations tonight, we're all on the same page
Yeah.
about the research that we've done to date, we understand the budget that we currently have, and that we'd like to give the board an update before we issue the RFP. And I think we'd like to get the RFP going sooner rather than later, so we can understand how we want to use those funds and help the community as soon as possible, so.
I would prefer to go sooner than later, and I know, once we hit July, it's not necessary that we have to have the entire board there, but I know already in July, we're not gonna have the entire board there.
Mhm.
So I know for sure, well, at the moment, the entire board's the 28th, so.
And we want the RFP
And then you can get
ready
it out,
by then.
yeah, because, I mean.
Yeah, and then we'd issue it shortly thereafter,
Yeah, I
if
get
the
it.
board's comfortable with it.
Which is where I was going to, because just trying to figure out the timeline.
Yeah.
You know, go to present this to the board. We need to have a date when the RFP will be ready for presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And then work on the timeline as to, if everyone's on board, when do you think, you know, we're going to issue? And then work on the questions, just as, Ms. Laws said earlier, you know, an opportunity to respond to any questions, and then put the dates as well as to, you know, when they're due and selection and whatnot. So I don't know if we're thinking about going that deep into the schedule itself or the scheduling, or do we just want to work on, discuss the, when we'll have the draft RFP ready for presentation, and then, an anticipated, date when it would go out, when we receive approval.
Well,
So,
28th, you'd be ready for 28th, right?
yeah, we should be able to get that section about advantageous, less advantageous, and not acceptable done within the next 7 days, so like, this committee can hear it or see it and review it prior to the 28th. In the meantime, we put on the agenda for the 28th.
Mhm.
Great.
And we wanna get the draft RFP just to the Board of Selectmen by,
Like that Thursday.
the Thursday before, yep. So
On-
not next Thursday,
I'll,
next Thursday.
Board of
I'll
Selectmen,
have-
it's Select board now.
I'll,
Sure, good point.
No,
I
no,
know-
not
no,
the
it's
select
not
board
yet.
Not the
yet.
No?
select board
There's a
yet.
lot of work to be done.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Go to the legislature.
It's gotta go,
to
it's gotta go to
change.
Boston to get approved.
Oh, I'm sure it will. But-
Well, it's tied into our charter. So tomorrow I have my meeting with Kevin. I'll ask Taylor.
It's already on as a placeholder on the agenda.
Oh, it's already got
Yeah.
the placeholder?
Yeah.
So then, somebody could help, heck, or you can draft fire and just ask that you come in, because you're the chair, so
Mhm.
it should come from you. Just ask that you come in and review, update and review, I guess, right?
Yep. And I'll be standing in for Kevin that meeting, so I'll be there.
Tomorrow? Oh, wait a minute,
On
on
the
the
28th,
28th,
yeah.
right.
So Bernie, just to be clear again, we will need whatever draft form of the scope is by next Thursday
Mhm.
morning.
That's what I'm writing down.
So are we gonna, is this board gonna have to get together again? Like, for a quick review, sign off on the other things, or are we just?
I mean, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
So we'll try to get it to, I'm not actually here next week, but Rowan, she and I will discuss it tomorrow and she can help. I'll get her started on the advantageous chart. So I will ask her to try to get it to the Housing Trust on Wednesday of next week, and then you'll have a night to look at it real quick, give her any comments through the night, in the morning, and then the next day on Thursday, send it to selectmen.
Yeah, and I think, so, I think the 3 or 4 of us will be on the email chain, so at least, we can track, see if there are any
Mhm.
issues or concerns.
Well, we just can't email back and forth.
No, but
Right.
you can send.
We can
If
send
you
it
send
to.
comments to
Send
Rowan.
comments to Rowan, she'll
Yeah.
collect them all.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then I guess we'll have to, do we need to do an agenda for this? committee?
Taylor will do a joint
A
meeting.
joint,
so you
she'll
don't
add
have
it to
worry
the
about
selectmen,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's easier. All right. Is there anything else? I don't think we need a vote on when to have it, right? I think we're good.
Well, so
Unless-
so I think the question is do we want to issue the RFP after our July meeting? Or are we comfortable issuing it after the Board of Selectmen sees it? So I think we have to make that decision tonight. If we vote to issue the RFP after we go to the, we could actually have a side meeting in the Board of Selectmen's meeting to vote to issue it, or we could wait till our July meeting.
We're in agreement on what this thing should be.
Yeah, I think we're pretty.
Mhm.
I think if everything's all set after it's presented to the selectmen, I think you should just go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of holiday planning, perhaps, so the 28th is a Tuesday, 4th of July is the following Monday. We might just want to be a little bit sensitive of when we issue based upon who's going to see it based upon holiday things. But I think we can issue it before our July meeting.
Yeah, but I don't think, go to chair,
Yeah.
if you wanna meet.
No,
with
I
me,
was
but
just
I
looking-
don't- If we don't have any issues with it, and nothing comes up with the
Right.
selectmen, why waste the time?
Yeah.
Schedule it and just do it.
Yeah.
So the meeting's on the 28th?
Yep. We could just issue it on the 29th if everybody's comfortable with it.
Yeah, my concern is just that the timeline, because that's gonna be a short week leading up to the 4th of July.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, not leading up to it.
Uh,
The 4th is on.
It's on a Monday.
Yeah.
So that's the week
Before.
right there, yeah.
Yep.
And,
Oh, do
so
it.
if we issue it, I think we just need to extend or the timeline as to when the
Right.
proposal is due.
Yeah.
Because of the,
Yeah.
because of the holidays.
What do we have in terms of a timeline now for it to be out, like 45 days?
I think there's
don't know if we've set that up yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't, no.
It's like, why don't we just wait till the week after the 4th?
Yeah,
With
that's
the
fine.
following-
Which is-
And we have a
Following
meeting on-
Monday.
We have a meeting on
We-
the 13th too.
We have a meeting, so I was looking at the 11th, and then the meeting, our meeting is
Yep.
on the 13th.
We might not need to meet in July though, if we're issuing, like, what would we
Sure.
meet about, right?
Say,
Yeah.
say it went out? That's
Yeah,
it.
right.
No, I think, yeah,
So just so I know, so the ideal date to issue would be the
11th, I think
Is that
we're
correct?
thinking
Sure.
about.
Yeah,
Right, but then that's gotta be a big vacation week if it's a Monday holiday.
right. The 4th through the 8th is gonna be a big vacation. So if we issue it the 11th, hopefully it will get the most visibility.
Mhm.
We cancel our 13th meeting and then meet in August. Let's see where we're
August
at.
10th,
What is, so July?
13th.
So we-
How much time do you give for them to prepare?
I mean, I think we should give 30 to 45 days.
What, I didn't know how long you usually give, that's all,
Yeah.
whatever.
So if we work on this here, if we issue it on the 11th, what's the date, how many days should we give them to come back with any questions? What does that typically look like? 2 weeks?
What do you typically do?
Let's see.
I have to go back and look at the prior ones.
If we issued it on the 11th, when would the responses be due?
So 45 days from July 11th is August 25th, just to give people a sense.
Okay,
35 days is August 15th. And I think we have a meeting on August 17th.
given that it's the summer,
Right,
should we wait until the 25th?
I think we should go the 45 days.
The full 45.
Mm.
Yeah, and I would go 3 weeks out for 3 or 4 weeks out for questions.
Questions, so that'll be,
Because you want people to get into the meat of their preparations.
Yeah.
so we give them till August 1st, questions. We'll respond, and then that still gives them, 2.5 weeks. No, 3 weeks.
There's not a lot of consulting companies that do this, right?
No, there's not a lot. There are a few.
So, yeah, and then for us, so proposals due 8/25, we review it on our next meeting.
Well, the staff would review it like the next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that they met the basic
Right,
requirements.
and we'd provide a recommendation to the committee. Or I will be the committee burning this team, sorry.
And that would be, just checking the calendar here. We don't have anything out in September yet? I don't think so.
It's coming sooner than
Yeah.
you'll be back in school, right?
This fall?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think September 1st.
come fast.
So anticipated recommendations. To the AHT.
Would we be able to stop working, you think, by October 1st with the consultant?
I would hope so. Usually, like, if we got the proposals August 25th, we'd probably do interviews first week of September. And then hopefully choose shortly thereafter and be ready to go definitely by October 1st, I would think.
So if we choose somebody, how much, is it negotiated, how much time they have to start?
Yeah, it's usually based upon their workload and our expectations, so it's a.
I just think this is when we're actually gonna get to start to do stuff.
Right, yeah.
But it's amazing how, we started this, December, and we're looking at,
Yeah.
at October
Right.
as award and start. And those were my questions that I had on the second page
Great.
anyway, so that covers that. Mr. Cahill, did we give you enough there, information?
Yeah, I think I got it all down. So we would issue on, just wrote it down. July 11th. We would take questions until August 1st. I don't have a response to questions date. What is it?
It's usually 7 days or less.
7 days, so we'll say August 8th. And then the final date is, August 25th.
Let me just
Thursday.
confirm that's not, okay, that's not a weekend, right?
It's
No,
a Thursday.
Yeah.
No,
it's
no,
a
it's a
Thursday.
Thursday.
Perfect,
yeah.
good, good, good.
Or Monday.
Yep. Does that sound good to everyone?
Mhm.
Good to me.
All right.
Do
Great.
you want to put their anticipated start date, like, you could put the month, just leave it open?
I think that is a good idea to put in the RFP, because it gives the consultant time to understand what their workload and schedule is. So I think October 1st is a good anticipated start date. And it shows that we're willing to move quickly, right?
Mhm.
That we're gonna take 1 month and that's it, that we're not gonna drag our feet.
That's a Saturday? Is that still okay?
We can adjust it to.
You don't wanna come in on Saturday?
How come you're not?
I will just change it to the 3rd. How about that?
Great.
Great, I think we got that covered.
Great,
Good.
all right.
Any other business?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It was requested at the last meeting to provide some more information about the the housing choice designation. So put together a memo, I'm just gonna hand that out now. It just summarizes how Shrewsbury qualified for housing choice designation this year, but I believe you asked the question. So it's just a summary of the different data points in town about why we've qualified.
Thank you.
At the bottom, so you can go through all that, see the different housing figures and the different policies that we have in town that help us to qualify. Towards the end, you'll see the benefits of housing choice community designation. Obviously, you can't get to the hyperlinks on a piece of paper. They are on your Google Drive and you can link right to them. I left it as a Word document, so it was, I think I did. If I didn't, I'll put it up to make sure that the URL works. But we've already taken advantage of being a housing choice community with our grant applications just a couple weeks ago. You do get priority access to several grant applications in town. So the 5 or 6 grants that we applied for a few weeks ago, we're able to check off that box, which gave us, hopefully, will give us an advantage. It's supposed to in our applications. So we're already taking advantage of it. So feel free to look through. You don't have to look through it all tonight. Feel free to reach out to me or Rowan with any questions about it, anything else further. We're happy to discuss.
The selectmen saw this already.
Yes.
A version of it, yeah, just
Yeah.
tweaked it to update it a bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. That was it, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else?
I have one item. Our office is working to put out the call for the 5th member for the housing trust. We didn't want to do it before an appointment of a June 30th date, because then they'd have to be reappointed at another time. So we're working through that, and we'll hopefully have a member at our next meeting. And I guess we should decide if we're going to be in July or not, based upon any discussion items.
So if the RFP goes out on the 11th, what?
Yeah, I don't think there will be, there'll be no need for that. So I think the next meeting would fall on August, is it 17th?
Yes, correct. And
August 17th.
and we have the selectmen's room booked for that one.
And I would see us reviewing like the questions that had come in, understanding who's pulled the proposals, who we think might be submitting, getting our matrix ready for evaluation so that we're all set to get on the ground running to review everything when it comes in on August 25th.
Good, so August 17th it is at 6:30. There are no new or other business. We'll have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
So moved.